share this session again with all of you through the website. Okay. Right. Today we're going to be talking about designing for blended learning. Right. I'm Zaleha Abdullah. Assalamualaikum and greetings to all. Okay, please just call me Zach. Okay. Right, and through this sharing session, I'll be talking about my experience, yeah, especially my experience in conducting a course using blended learning model, okay, which comprises of few techniques, which I'm going to share with you in a while. I really hope you will find this sharing useful. So feel free to ask questions through the chatting box, or you can always turn on your audio and say something, yeah, or you can always email me at that email address, zac@utm.my. I've posted the notes, okay? If you want to get it from that link, you can do so, or you can always go to the website, the Post 22 website that I've just shared in the chat section. You can always go there and get the slides from there, yeah? Okay. Okay, I need to remind you that since our sharing session today only going to take 1 hour, so I won't be able to cover much. Therefore, I would like to invite all of you to go to this MOOC platform. Okay, you can sign up. Okay, log in, mooc.utm.my. Okay, that's the link. Look for a course called Blended Learning, or I've posted the link directly here. Okay, this one here. This is actually a free course where you can further explore, what is blended learning. You get to participate in the activities. So do have a look. I mean, for those who are new to MOOC, if you haven't heard about MOOC, it stands for Massive Online Open Courses, yeah? It's an online course aimed at large scale, where involve large scale participation from people all over the world. Right? Some courses, when you go there, some courses are actually free. Some you have to pay in order to get the certificate. So yeah, have a look, yeah? There's going to be more than what I'm going to cover today in that MOOC course. So what are we going to be talking about today? First thing first, I'll briefly define blended learning, state why it is important, since most of you are research students, I believe, PhD, postgraduate students, yeah, and perhaps some academician. I'll also share some research findings on blended learning. We'll then take a look at the framework underpinning blended learning, models used, and I'm also going to talk about what we call high quality blended learning. There's a difference between you implementing normal blended learning and high quality. There are certain requirements, certain elements that you have to apply when we talk about high quality blended learning. And finally, I'll give some suggestion on where to start for those who's quite new to blended learning, yeah? Okay, so what exactly is blended learning? Okay, there you go. That's the face that sometimes when people first heard about blended learning, what is it, all you can think of is blending, isn't it? Okay, there are so many definitions of blended learning. Well, if you look at the link, right, I've given the link here, as you can see here. You will find a numbers of definition, okay, shared by our fellow academician friends, students. So you can always add yours, okay, your definition when you have the time, perhaps not today, later on, okay, and I would love to read your version of definition, yeah? So that's the link. You can also find it in the what you call notes I've shared. Okay, there's so many definitions there. You can spend time reading it, right? But when you look at all of the definition, and if you Google or you watch YouTube, okay, you will find many definition. However, we can clearly state that the key ingredients of blended learning are face-to-face and online instruction or learning. Okay, so let me emphasize here, yeah, there's a word of instruction, okay, meaning there's involved learning process and approaches to learning. So it is not simply you using online medium, to teach, and then you teach through face-to-face. It's not enough with just that, Okay, there must be certain learning approach use, between these two medium, yeah? I'll share more. Okay, before we proceed further, can we just do this? I just want to see your understanding at this point. Do you really understand what blended learning is? Okay, let's say the first question. This is just going to be 2 questions, not to worry. A teacher projects her lecture or his lecture on a digital whiteboard while students take notes on laptops. So is this blended learning? Okay, how many of you say yes? You can just use the thumb, the icon there, agreeing. No, okay. Tanala Chumi is not agreeing. Najwa say no, that's not right. Okay, no, Lisa, you want to say something? Song Xiaoyin also say no, that's not blended learning. Okay. Lovely. So it seems that most of you understand already what is blended learning, which is good. Yeah, you're right. Okay, this is not blended learning. Okay. Okay, next question. Let's see. Okay. So for homework, student watch a lecture on the Malaysia Independence Day. Okay. Where the lecturer already posts the video, explaining about Malaysia Independence Day and its history, okay? Therefore, in class, students start to simulate the Japanese invasion of Malaya, trying to act back of what they have learned through the lecture, which they have watched earlier. So is this blended learning? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, Yasmin say yes, Najwa say yes, Laili say yes. All of you seems to say yes. Exactly, okay, this is one of the model in blended learning which we call flip classroom. You're correct, yes? Okay. So I don't have to give more talk then. It seems all of you know already. You can instead teach me. Okay. Let's move. Yes, you are correct, right? With all the quiz just now, with all the 2 questions. Okay, in summary, face-to-face and online must be interconnected. That's the word, yeah? So you don't simply just teach online of a topic and then you talk about a different topic while you meet your student face-to-face. Okay, that's not blended learning. It must be interconnected, which combines offline and online modes of learning, okay? So you can do it online. You can use any medium you want, not necessarily have to be WebEx. It can be through Facebook, social media, or whatever it takes. Yeah. Okay. And here I'm sharing with you the definition of blended learning in reference to the Malaysia e-learning. Yeah, they state that 30 to 80% learning or teaching are done over the internet or intranet. Okay. That's the Malaysian definition these days. Okay, a framework underpinning. Okay, when you want to understand blended learning properly, you need to understand the framework behind it, yeah? So some of you perhaps, especially, research students, you're quite familiar with this model called Tpack, okay? If you look at Tpack, okay, you can see here that you must have all this element. You must have technology, you must have content, and you must also have pedagogy, okay? And in order to apply blended learning as a teacher, okay, you must know what sort of technology you're going to use, okay, to teach and to allow for the learning process to happen. So let's just give an example. I teach using Facebook and LMS, okay? That's the online medium I'm going to use, okay, when implementing blended learning. That's the technological part. And let's say I'm teaching English vocabulary, okay? Let's say that's my content, okay? And the pedagogy Pedagogy is to do with teaching and learning approach. You must apply certain approach. Yeah, that's very important. So let's say you're going to apply problem-based learning. Okay, there's a lot if you Google, right? Especially if you're a student of education, you may understand this easier, okay, than the rest. The engineering student, you might not understand. But for those who are not from education background, you need to really understand this part properly, yeah? You need to choose certain teaching and learning approach, okay? So that's going to be your base, right? Let's say I'm using problem-based learning approach or PBL. Therefore, this becomes, okay, my theoretical framework underpinning the blended learning I'm using. Okay, let's say so. So bear in mind these three elements that's required for you to have before you start, you know, thinking of using blended learning technique, right? So when you talk about technology, like I've said just now, you can use LMS. We have Blackboard, Moodle. The one that we use in UTM is Moodle, okay? You can also use MOOC, like I've shown you earlier in the slide. Okay, in MOOC, there's a lot of company like Coursera, Open Learning, edX, Udacity, and many more. Okay, you can also use social media as your platform, technology platform. Yeah, Facebook, YouTube, these days TikTok, and many more. Yeah, depending on what is your context. Like DeviantArt, most of those in the art and design background would use DeviantArt. Okay, now why is blended learning important and why make the change? Okay, people keep on talking about this, especially in Malaysia. I'll just share with you that we have a blueprint, you know, stating that by certain years, most of the teachers, lecturers are required, okay, to apply blended learning 70% in their programs, yeah. And we're going to use that. All of the, especially educators in Malaysia, are encouraged to implement blended learning in their courses. Okay, so why is it important? You do realize, right? We have different generation of students, okay? From before myself, yeah, maybe baby bloomers. Okay, now we are moving towards generation alpha. We have passed generation Z, okay? So all of them are so used to technology of using, you know, devices for learning, right? Even since small, they already start using handphones and all these gadgets. Okay, and we can see also students with dyslexia, yeah, growing as well. So they are so used to not just simply listen to you giving lecture as how it was before, you know. They require connection. They need to get connected with bigger groups. They are multitasking. They play games while they learn, you know, and very used to visual information instead of just texts. Okay, they are totally familiar with digital environment. We can say that. They have no issue sharing information. Okay, like us previously, perhaps some of us quite shy, but the new generation, they're not like that. Action oriented, high speed of actions. Okay, so they don't have much privacy. It's not an issue for them, they would say, and cyber wisdom. So we are dealing with such generations. So as educators, especially, yeah, we need to be aware of this, and blended learning is one of the method that may handle, okay, such generation for teaching and learning. Hi, Harun. Okay. So as you can see from the example there, you know, when teacher asks them, any question for today's assignments, instead of just answering, they can just, hey, can I tweet you the answer, you see? Do you TiVo that? So they are more familiar than the teacher when it comes to use of technology. Okay, some of the books perhaps I find useful and perhaps you can refer to if you're looking at the context of Malaysia, okay, from Malaysia context, higher education. You can get this. You can also get it from this link here. In here, there's a gathered of research being done in blended and flipped learning. So they talk about collaborative learning, authentic learning. You know, some of us use Schoology, technology in it. There's also discussion about the issue of face-to-face and why we require so much of blended learning approach and so forth. Other than that, the latest books, I think around 2020, okay, we have coverage between technology and pedagogy. So there's a lot of real life application that are being shared in this book here, the current one with the current technology. Another one is to do with essential for blended learning. This is also the same. It applies a lot of models, blended learning models in teaching and learning. So just few references, okay, books that you can have a look, which is based on research findings, yeah? Okay, let's move on. So what blended learning looks like in a classroom, some of you may be familiar already with this. You heard of station rotation, lab rotation, individual rotation, flipped classroom just now I've mentioned. There's also another model called flex, a la carte, online driver, face-to-face driver, okay? Well, it really depends on your context again and what you are teaching, yeah. Because some teachers who teach architecture, for example, they use a lot of flex model. They give flexibility to the students. You know, they give empowerment to the students while they are always on site. Let's say if the student find they having difficulty with understanding, they can always reach their teacher, you know, at the site. That is for example. So all this really depends on the context. Just now I've showed you through the Tpack model which context you're looking at. So this is just some of the example. If you talk about station rotation, this is how it looks like, right? For example, in a classroom, okay, you arrange a station. We have station A, station B, station C. So let's say you have about 30 students in the classroom. So let's say 10 students will start with station 1, you know, another 10 students will go to station second station, and the rest will go to the third station. So you can really schedule this, you know, for example, like group 1, from 9 to 9:30, they'll be in second station where they do a lot of readings, watch video in the internet, you know, and while 9:30 to 10, they are required to have discussion between themselves, perhaps, and later on at 10, only they will start to listen to lecture or discuss with their teachers, yeah. So you change that process to group 2 and group 3. So this is what a station rotation looks like, okay? When it comes to lab rotation, so this one depends on the situation, the environment, again, yeah, with your classroom or where you teach. Let's say you do not have a full set of computer in your classroom, so perhaps you can start with, you know, giving lecture to the students, and once you've done with that, like let's say 30 minutes, after 30 minutes, you will assign them to go to lab. Okay, like computer lab, where you can just go and do research and further explore for themselves. So blended learning really requires to do student to do exploration and self-learning more. Okay. Or a flipped classroom. Okay, I've talked a lot about this just now. You may want to start with flipped classroom. Let's see if you want to apply. Okay, if before this you give lecture in your class, let's say you teach in a classroom, this time you may want to do it online instead, yeah? And students listen to your online lecture and have them perform activities in classroom later on. So what's been done traditionally in a classroom is now done at home. So this is why it is flipped. Okay, it is called flip. So what have been done traditional for homework is now done in the classroom. So we just flip the situation, yeah? This is why it's called flip classroom. Now, a more model you can read through later on. You can also find in YouTube a lot of different models exist on blended learning. But now I'm going to talk about high quality blended learning, how we're going to design a high quality blended learning, and what are the examples. Okay, there are certain elements in high quality blended learning that you have to apply, okay, if you wish to do so. Okay, what are the elements? Okay, high quality blended learning integrates one, you need to give student ownership, student own their learning. Second, it's in a form of personalized learning. Okay, student can personalize their own learning as how they want it. Third, mastery-based education, their levels, okay, before they can really master the topics, okay, or learning process. And finally, relationship. You as the teacher need to create certain relationship for them to have that relationship, for them to have the feeling of being comfortable in learning, yeah? So you can read further and refer to Michael, Heather, Clayton, 2014. They talk a lot about high quality blended learning. Hi, Wang. Okay, now let's look at all the elements. Okay, if you start with student agency or ownership, student put effort in their own learning, right? Mostly blended learning are quite successful when it comes to adult students. Okay, I'm not saying that, you know, undergraduates, you can't apply this in an undergraduate, you can. But you might have to mesh or match with a few other blended learning models, yeah? So students set their own goals, okay? And with very few teachers' guidance, right? And you train them to become independent learner, let them explore and feel comfortable. You provide a platform that they are comfortable with. So before you begin the teaching, you can always ask them, hey, what platform would you like to use, you know, as your technological medium? So if the students say, oh, I'm comfortable with Facebook, then you might want to consider using Facebook, okay? TikTok perhaps, so use TikTok, yeah? And personalized learning, right? We wouldn't want it to be too formal, right? So we want it to be in a very relaxing environment. You know, you can also allow them to set their own pace. Sometimes you're dealing with different levels of student. Maybe in a classroom, you have 10 of them are quite advanced, you know, they know already about the context of learning. You know, some of them might be new, okay, to the topics you're discussing. So you must allow for them to just simply move around as they like, okay? If you have like 14 topics, perhaps, you know, those advanced students can always start with topics 10 and, you know, beyond, you know, while the new ones can start from the beginning. So yeah, let them personalize their own learning, yeah? And you must also have this mastery-based education approach. Let the student move to the next level once they have mastered the level that you wish them to achieve, okay? It's like playing game, isn't it? You will see, you know, some students manage to get into level 2 quite fast, okay? Some may take a longer time to really learn. So you must have this mastery-based education approach when it comes to implementing high-quality blended learning. And finally, relationship. So you must tell yourself, you know, while you provide that learning platform, you must allow for students between themselves, you know, to communicate. You must have this relationship between you and the students. I mean, you are reachable, okay, anytime they want to ask something. You may also create the mentor-mentee relationship. I mean, those advanced students or senior students can always help the juniors, yeah? So this is quite important for high quality blended learning. So all this you must have if you wish to integrate high quality blended learning. So if you look at where to start, if you ask yourself, okay, all right, there's so many models, blah, 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 where should I start, right? But you have to ask yourself first, you can start with hypothesis of a problem you have, and you think blended learning can help you, okay? Also ask yourself what you want your student to experience or learn. So this is quite important. You need to establish this first. Yeah. So let's say in my case, right, I'm teaching media design, design for multimedia, interactive design, those kind of thing. I teach graphic design. So I believe, my hypothesis, I would say that experts, okay, those who work in the industry, real designers in the industry, they are able to transfer valuable knowledge to my students. I believe in that. And then I want them, what do I want my students to experience or learn? I want them to learn from all these experts from the industry. Okay, let's say that is what I want. Okay, and this is why I intended to apply blended learning approach. Okay, so as a teacher, I need to shift my role, as I said just now, in difference to traditional teaching and learning. You are no longer the lecturer. You have to shift your role as a facilitator. You just facilitate the learning process. Okay. Your groups are dynamic as well. Remember when I explained about relationship just now? Okay. And then you've been the intervener, you provoke the trigger question instead of spoon feeding them. Okay. Right, and so forth. I've explained a lot just now. You must tell yourself what would be the ideal percentage for lecture. Maybe you just want to lecture for 20% coverage of the topic, and the rest you provide them with materials or resources to further explore by themselves. Yeah. Okay, yeah, the challenge with blended learning is to train your students to manage their own learning. Like I said, if it's adult learners, those like yourself, right, postgraduate student, you might not feel the challenge, but with undergraduates or those in schools, they might have a bit more, or you as the teacher might face a bit difficulty trying to get them to manage their own learning. Yeah. And you must provide enough support. Not to say just letting them go as it is. You need to prepare manual. You need to have, like I said just now, learning materials ready-made for them so that they can always reach for those materials. Well, as a research student, if you read further about zone of proximal development, there's a time where you as the teacher need to release your students. You may provide them guidance at the early of the learning process, but as they go, you need to slowly release them and let them explore their own learning. And by this way, only they can really reach understanding, higher understanding, yeah? Okay. So let me just share my experience. Like I said just now, I teach media design, and the thing with blended learning, you can become innovative. You can create your own approach, especially if you're PhD students, isn't it? You need to do innovation, teaching and learning innovation. So perhaps you can combine certain approach and try it out. Okay, that can become your innovation. So again, go back to Tpack model. Before you begin with implementing blended learning, you need to know what technology you're going to use, what is the content, okay, you're going to teach, and what approach, especially this part here, the pedagogical approach is very important. You need to be clear with this first, yeah? Okay, let me share. Again, ask your question. You ask yourself these questions. Okay, what do you want your student to learn? What is your hypothesis? Before you start the research, maybe you can ask yourself this. What are the challenges that you may face? What is the most suitable teaching and learning model or approach to use? Which blended learning model I've shown you just now, right? There's so many different models of blended learning. You need to decide which model would be most suitable, okay, for your context. Okay, let's say so. Those are my answers. So maybe you can start with this table first, okay? And you will start to innovate. Like in my case, my intention just now, I've mentioned that I want my student to learn from expert in industry. This relates with working with the experts, yeah. So it's not that easy to have such collaboration where student can just simply work with expert from industry. So I need to be very careful, and I start to look for certain approach or model that have been used a lot by other researchers, and I found something called cognitive apprenticeship approach. Okay, I rather not go deeper into this, but let's say this is the approach I'm using, or in your case, you want to use problem-based learning, for example, or case study, or, you know, collaborative learning, or whatever it is, yeah? Let's say that's the approach you want to use. You have to further explore the approach. You have to understand what are the requirements of that approach and what is it that you have to do when you plan to apply this approach as part of your blended learning. So I'm giving you this table. This table is quite useful. You can use it to guide you. Okay, let's say first to second week, first phase. That's just divided into 3 phases, yeah? So first phase, what sort of blended learning model you're going to apply? Let's say I'm applying face-to-face driver model here. What sort of syllabus or topics I'm going to cover at this phase, yeah? I'm going to use Facebook, perhaps. I'm going to use certain technology here. What activity, you know, I can start and plan here. So when we talk about high quality blended learning, like I've said just now, if you want to apply high quality blended learning, you must have all the elements, yeah, remember? So maybe at this stage, I'm going to establish the relationship. I'm going to make sure that personalized learning start to happen at phase 1, you know, and these are the approach of teaching and learning approach I'm using just now. What is it I'm going to do here? So this table is actually quite useful. You can try it out and take it as a planning, yeah? And then you go to phase 2 and phase 3, and you may want to apply or match different blended learning model in different phases. Yeah, that's really up to you. But at least this table provide you or guide you on what to apply and plan. Yeah. Okay, this is an example of what I did. I gathered 13 designers from industry to work with my students. So they have more than 10 years experience in the industry. So at that time, there was about 57 third-year undergraduate students. So I divided them into 15 groups. And I was the only one lecturer at that time conducting the research. You know, I let them, I did ask them first, which platform would they prefer to collaborate? So they said Facebook at that time, yeah? So I open up, you know, a closed group in Facebook, and we start to have collaboration there. This is an example of how when I mentioned about high quality blended learning before, yeah, I applied master-based education, meaning students only can move to the next level once they have mastered the first level. So they will do design and submit, and we will give critiques, you know, we will give suggestion for them to improve, and they will post a second design until the third design. So we will see they are making improvement or not. This is what called mastery-based education, yeah, elements. And relationship, at that time, I played as the relationship as a good cop. There's bad cop and good cop, right? All the designer for industry played their role as the bad cop. They criticize, you know, they give very negative feedback while I act as the good cop. Well, effective role, I try to motivate my students, you know, there's a different role playing there. So it's quite interesting. Okay, so I've explained to you what the elements required if you want to apply high quality blended learning. I've explained a bit on blended learning models. So now, if you have the time, you know, I will encourage you to go to this link. From this link, you will get a template where you can start to design your own blended learning course. You know, you are the chef. You can add all of these ingredients that I have explained just now, and use that template to do your planning, yeah? So you can do so. Let me just see. Hold on. Let me just go to the template so that you can have a look clearly how it's gonna look like. Okay, bear with me, yeah. Okay, so when you go to that link just now that I gave, I'll share together here in the chat section, yeah. You can see that if you click on that link I've posted in the chat section, you will see this one here. Okay, you will see this document. Again, I've explained this part. You have to be clear on what content you're going to teach, what technology you're going to use, and what approach, you decided best to teach the content, yeah? So you can try and answer this question first before you start, and look at all the models they have, and further explore how to integrate the high quality blended learning. And you can start and plan, let's say first week, what would you do? Which blended learning model will you apply? What topic will you cover? And start to look into it carefully. Okay, so I'm leaving you with this template so that you can try out later and further explore on how to implement blended learning. As for postgraduate students, PhD students, you can make an innovation. Again, I emphasize at this point here the pedagogical part. Well, when it comes to technology, there's a lot of technology evolving. Today you might so immerse into TikTok, but in the future, it might be a different technology. But what most important as a PhD student in making innovation, this part here, the pedagogical part, like I've showed you just now, I was making innovation, merging different models to become an approach that I call crucial just now, yeah? So, yeah. I'm leaving you with the table so you can further plan and explore. So far, that's my sharing for today. If you have any question, feel free to post in the chat section, or you can always turn on your mic and ask me. Let's discuss. Are we clear? Hello? Hello? Are you there? Thank you. That's it. You can. You're welcome.
Hi, Professor.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. I have one question. I attempt to do a research about blended learning for my PhD thesis, and I plan to do a cozy experiment. And I want to know how long is appropriate, how long is proper for the cozy experiment of blended learning.
Okay, it depends on what are you trying to improve. Okay, let me just go back to this slide, yeah. Okay, let's say you are trying to improve. Let's say you're teaching something. What are you teaching? What do you plan to teach?
Linguistics, English linguistics.
Okay, let's say English linguistic, yeah. Let's say here the content is English linguistic. So first thing first, you have to look for literature stating that it is possible, let's say, to improve English linguistic within certain period of time. Let's say 1 semester, right? Other literature say it's possible to improve within 1 semester, which require perhaps 3 or 6 months. So that is the timing that you need, backed up by the literature, yeah? Some say it's possible to done within 15 weeks. So that really depends, right? And within that weeks, if you recall, this is what I've shared just now, right? You can divide into, let's say, 15 weeks. Some cases, like in my case, when I talk about design, I can, there's a possibility for a student to improve their design within 7 weeks. Okay, there's a literature stating so. That's why I did it within 7 weeks. So it really depends on your context. Just now, Song Xiaoying, yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I want to improve students' deep learning.
Deep learning in literature just now.
I want to improve their deep learning strategies, and this is the dependent variable of my research.
Sylvia, when you say deep learning, that is still vague, you know. What do you mean by deep learning? Do you require them to reach into critical thinking? Do you require
Yes.
them? What is it that you want?
Maybe reflective learning, critical thinking, something like that.
I would advise you to choose one. If you think that the problem with your student is critical thinking, let's just focus on critical thinking, you know. If you think that you require them to have critical reflection, there's a difference, yeah? Critical thinking, critical reflection, so which is which? If you want them to reach until the level of where they can reflect critically, you know, that is a different context, you see? So what is the best approach? Again, okay, back to this approach. When you have defined, when you have agree on what you're going to look at, let's say critical thinking, okay, what are the common teaching and learning approach used to develop critical thinking? You must find that next, okay? Is it problem-based learning people use a lot to help with critical thinking or reflective thinking? You know, is it Socrates approach? Have you heard of Socrates approach?
So deep learning is 2 weeks.
You want to do it within 2 weeks? If I'm your examiner, I would argue with you. You're talking about critical thinking and you want to do it within 2 weeks? Is that rational enough?
No, about 15 weeks a semester.
13 weeks.
15 weeks.
15 weeks is quite like one semester already. That's a bit rational, you see, when you talk about critical thinking. It's not like exam oriented sort of understanding you're developing here, right? It's critical thinking that it makes sense. There are literature supporting 15 or 14 weeks. Yes. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
No worries. Terima kasih. Okay. Any more questions so far from the floor? Well, if you're a bit shy, not to worry. You can always, like I said just now, email me at zac@utm, yeah? We can discuss from there. That's my email. I've posted in the chat section. Nurliza, okay ke?
Okey. Doktor, saya nak tanya.
Okay.
Okey, kalau kita guna rotational model tu kan, adakah pelajar yang bermula dengan session tanpa guru tu, dia akan macam lost berbanding dengan student yang dia mula dengan dia jumpa guru dulu.
Okay, I tunjuk balik We'll go to station rotation. Sebenarnya before you start with thinking, you know, of applying blended learning as a teacher, you need to explore first the condition with your students, okay? Let's say you are the teacher. There's 30 students in your classroom. So you need to first identify, perhaps you can do normal testing, okay? Let's say, okay, you identify which are the advanced students, you know. So from the beginning, you already start to gather them in one group, for example, okay. So in one group, advanced student, this student may be a bit intermediate or medium achiever, and you already said, okay, this group require a lot of guidance. They are low performers, for example, yeah. So you already know their levels first before you begin the blended learning approach. So you may say that, oh, with the low performers, you know, I really need to drill them. I really need to provide enough lecture. So you make them sit in one group here, for example, okay, you give lecture, you teach them well before they begin the class. But for the other two groups, let's say the advanced group, yeah, they can simply just go to the computer and you already have set of instruction what to do, of course, okay, you give them a piece of paper with clear instruction. They can simply go to the internet and perhaps you assign them to do research or reading. Okay, so they straight away do. But the content are similar. Okay, the learning objective at the end are similar for all of these students. It's just that the way to achieve them is different. Okay, and for the rest of the class or the students, they can like gather. These are the students who perhaps are very active. They like to do discussions and all that. But then again, it's not like you're releasing them by themselves thoroughly. Okay, they will get back to you somehow. You rotate, isn't it? But like I've mentioned, it's important for you to first identify, okay, the level of the students. I would encourage you to do so. Yeah, Lisa, does that answer your question, Lisa?
Okay, yes, Doktor. Thank you very much.
Okay, maybe you can do that. Sometimes, like with our students, like postgraduate, right? They're quite advanced. As you can see, like the whole class, maybe, oh, they are all advanced students. So maybe you can just assign them to watch your lecture that you already have, like we did with ODL, right? So the student can simply just watch the lecture. And when it times for us to meet, face to face, maybe you can open for discussion and just Q&A between each other. You can do that as well. So it really depends on the levels of your students. Good question, by the way, Lisa.
Thank you, Doktor. Doktor, one more question.
Yeah.
Macam dekat tempat saya ni, satu kelas ada dalam 238 orang dalam kelas in one session. So, what do you suggest the pedagogy that we can use?
200 plus students, yeah, that's a big crowd. Normally, like those big crowd, again, like I said, it depends on your context, yeah. So what do you call context or content you are teaching the students? But normally, macam case kita dulu, okay, we have students engineering student who learn dekat N24, yeah, the building where the teachers teach is N24, and if you go there, you can see there are large hall, lecture hall, big halls where 200, 300 students have to attend the lecture. So when it comes to that sense, you can use lab rotation, right? You can give lecture to all of the students, 200 of them, but later, like I said, again, you must have proper instruction. You have planned already, you will assign them to go to the lab, so they are free to go after that, right? They can go to the lab, computer lab. For those who doesn't have computer, they can use their own laptop, go back to their house or whatever it is, but you already provide them with instruction on what to do next, so they just simply follow that instruction properly. So that lab rotation, and you can mix that with what we call flex model, this one here. Meaning you as the teacher will be on site. It's not like you let them go and then you go and relax, drink coffee or whatever. No, you will tell them, look, I will be in WhatsApp. I will be, on standby. While you doing that research based on the instruction that I gave you in computer lab, and you all of a sudden pop up with certain questions you want to ask, you can always reach me easily. Okay, so it's like you're combining lab rotation with flex model just now. Okay, I will not dictate what to use here, Lisa, but I will encourage you to read further what is the meaning of each of these models and explore. If you think you want to mix flex a la carte, you may do so. Okay, depending on the environment and situation that you've mentioned just now. Okay, I hope that answered.
Okay, Doktor. Thank you very much.
No worries. We have another, let's say 5 more minutes before I end this session. Please, Prof, we need the slide. Yeah, Bahir, you can find the slide. One of your friend, Yasmin, already posted. The slide I've already uploaded, okay, in the website. The recording session of today's session, once this is done, okay, this WebEx session is finished, I'll put it nicely in YouTube and I'll share that link in that website, which Yasmin have shared there, yeah? Thank you, Yasmin Rosli. let me just show you what I mean by the slide just now. Okay, you can see the screen here, right? So here, if you go to this website that Yasmin shared just now, okay, you can find all of the sessions, recorded session slides are posted there, you see? So if you missed out any of the talk, not to worry, okay, you can always go to this website again and get it from here, yeah? Like for example, the slides here, all of the slide, all of the talk that have been presented are all in here. So this is my slide here, as you can see, designed for blended learning. You can get it from there, yeah? So don't worry. Okay, you're welcome, Bahir. Right. If there's no more, tell you what, I'm gonna end the session here and feel free to email me. And if you wish to watch again this session, do so. Go to that slide, yeah, and have a look. So don't forget about the table that I shared with you just now. That's very useful. If you want to use that table for your thesis writing, you know, you want to make innovation, for example, or to explain in your thesis to the examiner on how you combine certain approach, you can use that table as well, yeah? That table can be useful for your chapter 3. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience. Hope to see you again. Thank you for your time. Take care all. Stay safe.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. You're most welcome. Thank you. You're welcome, Wang. Bye, Tana Lakshmi. Bye, Yasmin. See ya. Okay, Laili. Thanks for the clap. I'm gonna end it now, yeah? Bye, guys.